Because if you go piss like a puppy, stay on the porch and let the big dogs eat.
What is up, my Sabronies? This is another episode of the Sabo Standard podcast, and it is a short but not short. I don't know. This one could range from 20 to range from 40. It just depends on how much I rant about these dang Pittsburgh Steelers, how much I go off about Brian Kelly getting fired at LSU. There's a lot of kind of big things that happened in the realm of college football and the NFL and the NBA in the last week. And so, as I was doing this, I was like, there's not a lot of great college football games this week. And then I go look and I'm like, yeah, there still is a lot of really good college football games this week. And so I want to talk about all those good ones. The NFL was such a bad weekend last weekend for the Steelers. A really good weekend for some teams. And so we're going to go through, changing of the tiers. But really, game-wise, there's only a few, good ones that are, worth talking about. And the NBA had some really, really big, crazy news as they started off their season. They start off last week, and then within the realm of a few days, the story isn't much about the basketball anymore and more about other stuff that goes on within the NBA in that realm. And so, we could get through it in 20, 25. It could go from 30 to 40 to 45. But the great thing about sports is the ability to talk about them, to debate them, to get your thoughts, your comments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so before we get to that, there's a lot of things that I've said, hey, working on, wanting to do, wanting to trying to figure out. And within the realm of life, I've talked about my life and a lot of the things that I try to focus on within, all that part, work, being a dad, and, high school football of my own. And then the priority at which this lies, and it's a fun priority. It's something that I try to do, but it's not priority 1. It's not priority 2, 3, 4, 5. However, after high school football season is over, some things will be able to be, time divided a little bit more time into preparing better things other than just tier lists, games, and thoughts. Doing things like a weekly top 10 list. You guys know how much I love lists. I've talked about my love for lists so many times, and so that will allow me to kind of to do that, to give you, weekly lists, whether it's via TikToks, which I hate making TikToks. Gosh, if you know me, you know I hate making TikToks. But if you need to see any of this on TikTok, it's at the Sabo Standard. Anything like that, TikToks. Thinking about, starting a weekly Substack. If you want to read some of my thoughts, Substack can be that option. And then just trying to figure out other ways to continue to grow this. And my history episodes is a priority to, get those started, finished, and uploaded. Still waiting on Kelly for that logo. So until that gets done, it's just a lot of space, a lot of time that needs to be figured out. And, whether you believe me or not, this is getting recorded at 11:51 p.m. on a Tuesday night going into Wednesday because I fell asleep in my kid's bed with him as he was trying to go to sleep. And I fell asleep because just the life of being a parent right now. And so, again, it's this late, and I want to get this done. I want to put effort into this for the people that have listened, who have given a chance. And if you've made it this far, if you listen this far every single week, I do appreciate you. Make sure you send this to somebody who loves football as much as you do, as much as I do. With that being said, we've already wasted 4 minutes. Let's get into it. As far as my, NFL tier list that I kind of update every week, I'm not going to go through every single game, every single week of all the teams that have changed or that don't change, just the teams that have changed. And so last week I said that I needed the Packers or the Steelers, either one, to kind of dominate that game, and I would move them up. And the Packers did. Packers beat down the Steelers, embarrassed the Steelers, and because of that, I moved the Packers up to my Super Bowl contenders, and I also moved the Colts up. And I said the Colts needed one more game just to impress me, and they did. It seems like every week Jonathan Taylor scoring more and more touchdowns. Daniel Jones is as consistent as can be, and they don't have any A+ wide receiver, but they have a lot of B wide receivers all the way across the board. And because of that, their offense is so balanced. It's so dangerous. The defense does just enough of absolutely anything that they need to. And I really, really, really am impressed with the Colts. I'm really impressed with the Packers. They've moved themselves up to Super Bowl contenders. Buffalo, Eagles, Chiefs, Lions, Colts, Packers. Those are my 6 teams that I think are the 6 best teams in the NFL right now. Just absolutely domination on all fronts, all accounts for both those squads. My playoff locks and could win games didn't change too much, but two teams changed too close, and that's the Niners. It just does. It finally feels like they cannot stay healthy, and that's catching up to them. McCaffrey isn't going to be explosive and score 5 touchdowns every single game for him. Being able to catch the ball as receiver and run the ball is just not going to be consistent enough. The Niners are close, and I dropped the Steelers down. It is embarrassing. It is embarrassing to be a Steelers fan. It is hard to be a Steelers fan. You see them put so much time, so much money into this defense. TJ Watt's the highest paid defensive player of all time, or per year. Maybe Parsons passed him or whatever. Maybe he didn't. I don't remember. But they put a lot of money into him. They trade Fitzpatrick. They get Jalen Ramsey. Give him a new contract. Cam Hayward a new contract. Patrick Queen, 2 years ago. And we keep bringing these dudes that at one time were so explosive. And I still think our D-line has that. But they're not getting to the quarterback fast enough. And the DBs, nobody can cover anybody. Nobody can cover anybody. It doesn't matter if you run zone or run man. Nobody can cover anybody. And I gave the excuse for him Thursday Night Football against the Bengals. Joe Flacco throwing to Jamar Chase. Okay, whatever. One's open somewhere. Throw it to him. He's a great player. The Packers do not have great wide receivers. Again, they're like the Colts. Good all the way around. Tucker Kraft had the game of his life because the Steelers just refuse to cover anybody. And the moment something doesn't go their way, the moment there's a little bit of adversity, they fold. Should have been a offsides by the defense on one of Aaron Rodgers' hard counts. Sure, absolutely could have been, should have been. The fact of the matter is they didn't call it. Then the Packers get the ball back. It's 3rd and long, and they allow Tucker Kraft to get a catch for like 65 yards. Sets him up into another scoring position. The Packers capitalize, and the Steelers just give up. It is embarrassing. It's quite frankly, I'm just every year we get to the point tired of Tomlin. I'm tired of Tomlin, tired of Terrell Austin. We need to change in the guard. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that the defense is this bad when you finally have an offense that is somewhat competent, and you don't even have any wide receivers other than DK Metcalf. I mean, it is insane. It's embarrassing. I'm so tired of it. I'm tired of being a Steelers fan. It's one of those things where it's like you're going to get in the playoffs because the division is so weak. You're going to find ways to win games. They have the Colts this weekend, which we're going to talk about in a second. I think the Colts win that game by a lot, but the Steelers, if they won it, I wouldn't be shocked. But then they're going to go lose other ones that they shouldn't lose, and they're going to get in the playoffs, and they're going to go play the Eagles or the Chiefs or the Bills or the Colts again, and they're just going to get absolutely smoked, and they're going to get boat raced in the playoffs, and it's not going to matter. And we're just going to repeat the cycle year after year after year because this is what Mike Tomlin does now. He just stands on the sideline with a blank face, doesn't coach up anything on the sideline. Like there's no emotion. There's the cool, well-being. Like the straight face bullcrap doesn't work anymore. I don't care. It doesn't do anything. It's not changing anything. The culture sucks. You can see on the sidelines the moment there's any adversity. I really like what Aaron Rodgers has brought. I think the offense is okay. But like defensively, when you're giving up that many points to the Packers, when you're giving up that many points to the Bengals, when you're giving up that many points to the frickin' Jets all season long, I can't give the benefit of the doubt anymore. Things either have to change fast or there's going to be a change at the end of the season. There has to be. There probably won't be because the Roonies won't because they don't fire head coaches. Their head coaches don't fire coordinators. But this isn't 2002 anymore. This isn't 1980 anymore. This isn't 1970 anymore. It's 2025. Explosive offenses work, and defenses that aren't 40 years old average age don't work. Like it has to change. Things have to change for the Steelers. My last team is the Falcons. I dropped in the middle. I thought they were close last time. Kirk Cousins did not help at all. When Penix doesn't play, when Drake London doesn't play, when they're not playing at home, that offense is just not explosive. The defense isn't great. They can win games, they can upset anybody, but they can lose anybody at any given week. And so the Falcons are my last team to change tiers. Everybody else pretty consistent along the board. Finally, my NFL picks of the week. Again, guys, there's not a lot of great games. And so I didn't even pick Colts Steelers because it is one of those great games, not even because it's Steelers fan. It's just the only ones that feel worth talking about. 7-1 Colts head into the Steelers. Steelers are 4-3, fall to 4-3. The Colts are favored by 3.5. This either happens two ways. The Steelers either upset in typical Steelers fashion football, or the Colts beat them by like 14. And I could see the Colts winning by 14 because they beat a lot of teams by a lot of points this year, and they're just going to score all over the Steelers defense. They're going to move the ball however they want. Jonathan Taylor might rush for 200 yards, or Daniel Jones might throw for 350 yards. I mean, it's going to be that bad. It could get ugly. Or again, the Steelers also just can put up some points and stick with them. The Colts are minus 3.5. If it was in Indianapolis, I would say minus 13.5. I think the Colts win, and they win by a lot. Sunday Night Football is the next big game. The Seahawks are 5-2. They're going to the Commanders, who are 3-5. Seahawks are favored by 2.5. The Commanders need to win badly. They just got embarrassed the other night. Monday Night Football playing Kansas City. Had Jaden Daniels played, can they put up enough points? Maybe. It was 7-7 at halftime, and Kansas City just did whatever they want in the second half. If Jaden Daniels doesn't play, if he doesn't start playing, the Commanders are going to be really bad. They were a team that I had, win the division this year without them being healthy, losing Eckler. Terry McLaurin was out for a long time. Like, injuries happen. It happens with great teams every year that drop them down. The sophomore slump has been there for Jaden Daniels when he does play. If he is healthy for this one, they can't upset Seattle, but I think Seattle's too good. Minus 2.5 is not a big number, and so I think the Seahawks cover. And then lastly, the game of the week. The Chiefs head into the Bills. Kansas City's minus 1.5 point. I really don't know who wins this game. Buffalo responded last week with a good win after losing two tough ones in a row, to the Patriots, to the Falcons. The Chiefs are 5-1 the last 6. They're figuring things out. Rashee Rice has made that offense even more explosive than it already was with Xavier Worthy when he's healthy. Travis Kelce just fits in perfect again. Like, the ability to spread out the ball and then dink and dunk to him. The offense, there's not even great rushing. Like, Pacheco doesn't do a lot rushing. Mahomes most of the time is kind of your best runner. Kareem Hunt on the 1-yard line is going to guarantee a score. Kansas City's going to continue to put up points. Buffalo can win anyway. They can run the ball for 300 yards. They could throw the ball for 250. I don't love all the receivers, but they're all explosive enough. Buffalo's going to put up points. Kansas City's going to put up points. The over-under is 51.5. I think that there's a lot of scoring. I think that hits the over. And I think Kansas City keeps on winning. They win this one in Buffalo. Buffalo needs this bad for home field advantage, but I just really think that Kansas City is better at this point. Kansas City's hot. Kansas City gets it done. And then I actually did have one more game on here. By week 17, the Browns 0. Browns fans, I'm just kidding. You didn't deserve that one. College football-wise, this last weekend, there wasn't a lot of upsets like the week before. And so I said last week I'm not going to spend too much time on updated top 10 lists when the top 10 doesn't change too much. But Texas A&M dominated LSU so much that I had to do at least an updated top 5. Everybody in the top 5 is really good, and 1, 2, and 3 are really special. And 1, 2, and 3, if you wanted to put Texas A&M at number 1 right now, I wouldn't completely argue with you. I don't think it's the right choice, but Texas A&M is really, really good. Mike Elko has taken a team that Jimbo Fisher could never have imagined getting to these heights. Texas A&M has every opportunity in front of them to keep winning games and put themselves as front runners to be the best team in the SEC. And right now they are playing like the best team in the SEC, just dominating when they should, winning the big games, and going to a place like Death Valley and just blowing them out. And regardless of how bad or good an LSU team is, to do that was impressive. So Ohio State's my number 1 team. I think Ohio State is as balanced as can be. The defense is so explosive, so good, so physical. Matt Patricia has them all in the right spots at all the right moments all the time. The offense is the offense, and as they just keep getting deeper in the season, it will be more and more explosive. They'll play faster. They'll do all the things that they are expected to do as Ohio State's offense. Julian saying with Jeremiah Smith, the run game is going to figure it out. Ohio State is the best team. Indiana's number 2. I know you can make a case for them resume-wise, maybe like who they beaten, how they beaten. Talent-wise, they are just as good as anybody. They're trying to get Mendoza the Heisman. They're calling it the Heisman Mendoza. Like, that's awesome. Like, and Indiana is so good, and they're the one team that, like, I really think go toe-to-toe with Ohio State. They are lining up to play each other in Big Ten championship. That will be one of the greatest games ever. I mean, that might be one that might have to convince the wife to let me go. Like, that will be insane, fun game. It could be 1-2. Texas A&M, like I said, is number 3. Marcel Reed, he's almost got 2,000 passing yards so far this season. And Mario Craver might be my favorite non-Ohio State receiver this season. I think he's fast. I think that they are just different out there. And the speed was different versus LSU the other night. And then Oregon 4, Bama 5, 2 teams that they have the one loss versus good teams. You know, Bama, I know it's to Florida State. I still think Florida State's a good team. Could be anybody on their schedule any single night. And so those 2 teams fill out those top 5. And then the rest, 6 through 10, it kind of just remains pretty much the same. The top 5 isn't even the craziest thing within college football. Like, Texas A&M isn't even the craziest. Indiana's season isn't even the craziest thing in college football. I really think the most impressive, the craziest part about college football this season has been all the firings. And we talked about James Franklin a few weeks ago. Obviously, Billy Napier a few weeks ago. Another big one on Sunday night, hits the breaking news that Brian Kelly's out at LSU. This is one at the beginning of the season I really didn't see happening. Even if they had a down year based on expectations of what they should have been as championship contenders, I just didn't see them firing Brian Kelly because they paid so much to bring him in, because he fought so hard to leave Notre Dame and to get to where he's at. Hindsight is that he was just not a fit. Really. Like, Notre Dame, they won games, but they never won the big games. He was James Franklin of Notre Dame, of the independents. He thought academic standards gave him a disadvantage. He thought going to the SEC, he'd be able to win. He had the fake accent, the family at that, at that basketball game. It was never fit, and maybe people saw that early on. But you thought that he was a good coach, and he is a good coach. He is a good coach, and was able to win a lot of games at Notre Dame. And at LSU, they go 0-1 every year. They finally beat Clemson to start the season 1-0. Finally had a great defense, and the offense just sputters. Where in years past, they've had really good offenses with Malik Neighbors, with Jane Daniels. I mean, won a Heisman Trophy. Jane Daniels won a Heisman Trophy with Brian Kelly as his coach, and they have just struggled now. On either side of the ball, one side of the ball every year, and they just got embarrassed. They got lit up by Texas A&M the other night, and it was just one that just felt like there was no juice, and it almost felt like, yeah, you were, Penn State or LSU's, AD. That's a move you kind of had to make. It's like what Penn State's had to do after losing those 3. You just had to do it. Changing the guard, find a guy that's going to come in and fit the culture of LSU a little bit more, a little bit better. And not feel phony, not feel corny, because that's what Brian Kelly ended up being. And in hindsight, like I said, should this been known from the beginning that there's the corny, the phony? Does he? I don't know if he ever coaches again. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Like, I really don't know if he finds himself coaching again. Does he want to coach again? Does he go back to the North? Does he go back to the Big Ten? Like, does he go somewhere in the Big Ten? I think part of all the buyout information will determine if he's supposed to look for a different job or not. But this was one beginning of the year I truly did not expect. I thought LSU was going to be really good. I thought that I had them in my playoff. I had them going far in my bracket, and it is just amazing how a team like that has just downhill so fast to this point that they fired their coach. So last thing, coaching search wise, or all these firings wise, with LSU opening up, there's so many great jobs that are open, like these dream jobs for a lot of guys, big name jobs that have the ability to win national championships. And so I'm gonna rank them the best 3 right now, and obviously many more can open up. I think Wisconsin can open up. Luke Fickell could be fired any week. Auburn. Hugh Freeze, they just don't win conference games. Florida State, like, they continue to decline, and obviously with last season, what ended or was kind of what the most disastrous season after a 13-0 start that you could ever have. Those are 3 more that can open up. Do any of these trump my top 3? One is LSU. Like, I think that's the best job that's open right now. LSU, prior to Brian Kelly, had every single coach win at least an SEC championship and a national championship. Nick Saban This since Saban, Nick Saban, Les Miles, and go Tigers, Ed Orgeron, right? Like those three all were able to do it. Brian Kelly wasn't. That's a school that wins national championships. I think that's the best job. Penn State's number two. You go into a landscape where you don't have to play Ohio State every year. If you can go and win a big one against an Oregon, a Washington, a Michigan, Ohio State, and Indiana, two of those three a year, you're putting yourselves 11-1, contention for Big Ten championship, contention for national championship. I think that's the number two job. And then Florida, I think, is the third best job. The history of winning is there. The history of national championships, not as much as LSU, obviously more than Penn State. But also, still SEC, still big time conference, good recruiting, everything that these coaches want. And it like Penn State and Florida, you could put 2 and 3. I think those are the three best jobs, and I don't see jobs opening up that are better than that, other than, like, let's say Dan Lanning. Like, does he take the LSU job if it's offered to him? Is that something he would want to do, go to the SEC, be at LSU? Then Oregon comes in. Is that a better job than Penn State and Florida? Maybe, probably. Does Lane Kiffin, like, if he leaves, is Ole Miss better than Florida? Maybe not in the grand scheme overall, but in the general right now, what, NIL has built at Ole Miss, what he has done. And then, Hartline, could he take the Penn State job? And then is Ohio State's offensive coordinator position a better sought-after job than a lot of these head coaching vacancies? It very well could be. Learning under Ryan Day, getting to go coach Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sayin next year. I would not fault Hartline if he took the Penn State job. Like, that's the whole point of what he's doing is to grow and become a head coach. And someday when Ryan Day is done, Hartline is the guy that replaces Ryan Day. And so if he goes and has some success somewhere else for a little bit, does what he needs to do, it's going to happen eventually. He's going to leave eventually. Brent Key, everything that Georgia Tech is doing, everything that he's built at Georgia Tech has been amazing. Haynes King is gone after this year. Does Brent Key, does he see that and go try to build Georgia Tech up somewhere else? Like the physicality, hard-nosed football team, that would be a lot of fun at Florida. And maybe he's not a Florida guy, but if somebody else takes the job, is he a fit at Oregon? I think that the physicality that he run, that his offense does with Oregon's explosiveness, could be something that would be really cool. I think so. Or there's even some smoke that Sark could leave for the NFL, like interested in NFL head coaching jobs. What if DeBoer takes different? So there's so many what if scenarios when big time schools, not just one, when 2, 3, 4, 5 of these jobs open up every single year, or for the first time in a few years, when these jobs open up, it causes a lot of what if, and it's a lot of dominoes. And once one domino falls, more and more and more, and that's going to happen as soon as that conference championship weekend is over. You're going to see a lot of moves by a lot of these teams. And you're going to lose a lot of really good coaches in a lot of these schools. All right, let's talk the most important part about college football, and that's the games on the field. Like I said, when I first was thinking about this weekend, I'm like, yeah, obviously Penn State plays Ohio State. They're on paper. If you looked at this August, oh, what a great weekend. And then Penn State obviously not being as good as what they expected to be kind of took the juice out of this game. But there's still a lot of really fun games this weekend. So let's start with Penn State. They go to number 1 Ohio State, big noon kickoff. Buckeyes are favored by 20.5. If this wasn't like this year or last year's Ohio State team with the talent that they have, then I could say this is a game that Penn State could go in and upset them, be close enough to upset them, based on just the history of teams firing their coach and playing inspired against good teams. If this was at Penn State, I'd even give it a little bit more. But Ohio State's so focused. They're so good. They're coming off a bye week. They win, maybe by not 20-1, but enough to you're not worrying about it. I think Ohio State goes out there. They take care of business. They beat Penn State. Penn State's just another Big Ten team. A ranked matchup, 9 Vandy at 20 Texas. Texas saved their season last week. They had a miraculous fourth quarter comeback against Mississippi State. Went into overtime, got it done. Arch did get hurt. If Arch is hurt, Vandy Vandy just feels like the team that I expect them to lose every week, and they haven't lost. They're Diego Pavia and that offense and that team just play so good, so tight, and they find ways at the end to get it done always. Both teams need this. This is an elimination game for either one. I just don't think Vandy has enough to, even with 2 losses, Texas certainly with 3 losses wouldn't be in. If Arch is healthy, give me Texas. If Arch is not healthy, if Arch misses, and I don't know any update. Maybe he is good and cleared already by the time this comes out. But if not, then I think Vandy gets it done. If Arch is healthy, because it's at Texas, give me Texas. Number 5, Georgia versus Florida. Why is this not called the world's largest outdoor cocktail party anymore? Like, that's like the coolest name ever for a rivalry game. The world's largest outdoor cocktail party. And you've taken that name away because, I don't know. Georgia's minus 7.5. I really do think they get that and they win by that much because I just don't trust Florida. I don't think Georgia's the 5th best team in the country. I don't think Georgia is that great. I think Georgia's good. Georgia finds ways to win. I think Georgia's also handed ways to win by, poor officiating, by other teams just think they're playing Georgia. Georgia wins by the 7.5. Georgia goes to Georgia Tech in a month. Just wait for that. I mean, that's going to be fun game. And that's going to be Georgia Tech's way to prove that they are better than Georgia. They should beat them last year. That game later on, we get there, it's going to be fun. Georgia wins this weekend, and I'm just looking forward for them to play Georgia Tech, like I said, in about 4 weeks. 13, Texas Tech at Kansas State. Kansas State, beginning of the year, like if you recall, was my favorite to win Big 12. I thought they were going to be really good. I thought Avery Johnson was going to be really good. And they've fallen off. They're a 4-4 team right now, or something like that. They're 4-3 or whatever it is, and they just don't have the firepower that I thought they would. They never found their way. But Texas Tech lost their starting quarterback Will Hammond for a year. They lost last week. The magical run is just beginning to fade. Maybe it's not this week that it keeps fading. But being at Kansas State, I think Kansas State keeps it close, and I think this kind of sets up BYU to win the Big 12, which we're going to talk about in a second. 18 Oklahoma at 14 Tennessee. This is an elimination game. You lose 3, you're done. And OU at Oklahoma has just fallen so flat. They just fallen so flat. If John Mateer never breaks his hand, maybe the momentum keeps rolling. But the moment he did, and they lose to Texas, I'm just going to go back. That was the game that they needed to win. They couldn't afford the Texas loss because there was just too much in front of them, too many hard games that you can't expect an Oklahoma team to win them all. Now, if Oklahoma goes 9-3 this year, that's a great season for Oklahoma based on what the last few years has been, and I definitely think that Brent Venables keeps his job. He's not the type of guy that's going to get fired with a 9-3 in that conference with as many hard games that they have played, but just to get in the playoff, it's just not going to be enough if they lose this. Being at Tennessee, I just find it hard for Oklahoma to go in Tennessee at night and get it done. And I think at the end, Tennessee kind of wins by a good amount. The Pac-12 championship game, because 4-4 Washington State heads to 1-7 Oregon State. The two Pac-12 teams. Washington's minus 3.5, only 3.5. I just don't understand. Oregon State's really bad. Give it to me. They end up winning by more than 3.5. Crown them as Big Ten. I keep saying Big Ten because those all those teams go to the Big Ten except for those two. Pac-12 championship game. Washington State gets it done. Crown them as Pac-12 champs. The last big game of the weekend is Cincinnati going to Utah. Cincinnati's number 17 at Utah 24. Utah's minus 8.5 favorites. Utah is the home team. Utah is the favorites. But if you guys haven't been watching Cincinnati football, they find ways to win. They lost to Nebraska week 1. Since then, they haven't lost. They're 5-0 in the Big 12. I know it's not a tough schedule since then. They beat Iowa State. That was a good signature win for them. If they can upset Utah this weekend, then they play BYU on November 22nd. If they win that one, then they go into the Big 12 championship game as they could lose that and be in with the 2 losses. If they lose to BYU, and I find it hard to see them with 2 losses and then going to the Big 12 championship game and losing and getting in. But if they win this one and then they beat BYU, they can set themselves up to where the Big 12 championship game doesn't really matter as far as getting in. It would just matter for where do they match up and who and what seed and all those things. And as I was writing this, I was like, give me Utah. They have to win the big one. They lost to Texas Tech. They lost to BYU. At home, they're going to play an inspiring game to keep their Big 12 hopes alive. They're a physical team. That's what Utah does. They are physical. I know they're favored. I know they're at home. And I even put, so it's not really upset, but I'm calling for them to win. But as I really talk about it, as I think about this, as I say this, Cincinnati might really, 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 really win this game. I'm switching my pick. I'm going Cincinnati. Trap game of the week, Miami, number 10 Miami at SMU. If SMU forces turnovers at all, if Beck plays poor at all, SMU gets the upset. And this is my funnest game of the week. This is 7-0, undefeated Navy. They're heading to 7-1 North Texas in a game where the over-under is 65.5. Okay, Texas State's quarterback has already thrown for over 2,400 yards, 21 touchdowns. Horvath, the Navy quarterback, has rushed for 800 yards, 12 touchdowns. I don't care who wins, but take that over. Watch these offenses go crazy. My lock of the week. That's also my lock of the week. The over is going to hit. It is 65.5. Lock in the over. That's my best bet of the week. Give me 66 plus points for that game. All right, my love for football isn't the only sport that I truly love. I do love some basketball. The NBA is back. It's been a great first few days. Luke was fantastic till he got hurt. A bunch of jabronis around here said I was crazy for making Luke my MVP. He's going to go out there. He's going to score points. He's going to score points at will. When he is healthy, he's on the court. The Lakers are going to win those games. He's going to put up points, and I'm really interested to see when LeBron gets back what that's going to look like. The Knicks are really, really good. I'm really confident in my prediction of the whole thing. And I said Knicks, Cavs. I truly am confident those are the two best teams in the East. They both are going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. I still think the Knicks are good enough to win the whole thing, and I really like the Knicks so far through the first week and a few days of the season. The NBA has been a lot of fun to watch, but the basketball on the court has not been the only thing that people are talking about. So let's talk some of this NBA betting scandal. And I'm not going to get too much into it because, I don't want the majority of what we talk about to be a lot of negatives and drama and the grand scheme of not sports part. But there was some absolute fireworks dropping last week after the first few days of the season. Some early morning arrest for some gambling stuff. So Terry Rozier's name has obviously come up a lot in the last 6 months or whatever about throwing or fixing not games but his own player props. He game right before one of their games when he was with the Hornets still, I believe. People are putting a lot of money on his unders, and then he gets hurt a few minutes in, hurt foot. Malik Beasley, his name has popped up. Obviously Porter. With the Raptors, he's been indicted. He's been found guilty of all this, and his name kind of popped up into this investigation and all the stuff. But it's kind of crazy to really think that this is something that's a reality right now for some of these players. What's crazy about Rozier is the NBA cleared him. They had their own investigation. They cleared him. They thought he was good, and the Fed swooped in last week. They arrested him. And at this point in time, I still believe Miami's paying his roster or his contract until he's found guilty. He wasn't the only one. Former Cavs player Damon Jones. The thing about Damon Jones that makes this kind of wonky is that he's apparently good friends with LeBron. He told these people, these the mob, the mafia, whatever it is, people he's involved with, information about LeBron's injuries and stuff, so they can make bets based on if LeBron is going to be back or not, which is kind of crazy. A guy like LeBron, you're supposed to take care of. You have an opportunity to be close to LeBron like that, and you kind of ruin that. And then Chauncey Billups, that was the shocker, was Chauncey Billups. Yes, Terry Rozier's name had been thrown into it, and so it was okay, I'm not completely shocked. And then Damon Jones, some washed-up NBA clown, but Chauncey Billups, you're the head coach of the Trailblazers. You are a former Finals MVP. You are a NBA Hall of Famer. What are you doing getting involved in these betting scandals? And I don't think his one was as much. It wasn't fixing games or anything like that. It was just illegal poker games, some fugazi stuff, some X-ray machines and spy glasses and all that crazy crap. just to get a couple $100,000, like some extra chump change. When you are making this much money as an NBA Hall of Famer, as an NBA coach, as an NBA player, like I just don't get it. Like Terry Rozier just signed a 4-year, $100 million deal, and out of all this, he got like $200,000 or $300,000 more dollars. Now, I am just a high school science teacher, football coach. My wife is a veterinarian. $200,000 right now would change a lot of things. Okay, but I didn't just sign a 4-year, $100 million contract, and so I just don't get what he's doing and why. And it's just so stupid. And if you're Chauncey Billups, like why? Why tarnish your reputation as one of the greatest players in NBA history? You are a finals MVP. That is something that will never be taken from you. You are a Hall of Famer, a basketball Hall of Famer. Recently, you were a head coach. You were one of 30 head coaches in the NBA. And you get involved in crap like this. It's going to tarnish legacies. It's going to tarnish names. And if what comes out being true, like it could tarnish lives. It could ruin lives. And all for a couple $100,000. I think that the NBA, they're in a weird place. We talked about this last week with the whole media rights deal and the changing of the guard with old guys, the LeBrons, the KDs, the Stephs at the end of their careers. NBC has done such a good job so far. Amazon Prime has done such a good job so far. Like it's going to elevate the game for the broadcast and the show and all those things. But I really just don't know how the NBA can continue to deal with this crap and fix it and make their league look good. It's really hard, and they get in their own way right now with a lot of these things. I just find it's interesting to see what the path is and how they can kind of get away from the betting scandals involved with the NBA. And all sports are going to deal with it right now with just the lay of the land. But the NBA really needs to clear their name a little bit more, wash their hands free of this, take care of this, not allow any of this to happen. Betting is for fans. Betting is for non-NBA players, non-NBA coaches. It shouldn't be involved in the sport. You shouldn't have to worry about if is there non-legitness to this. And I know there's a history of the referee Donahue, whatever, fixing games before. It's been documented. But the NBA really needs to get this stuff rinsed clean of their hands of the blood of betting and just it tarnishing its sport right now. Just like that, we are at the end of the episode. Right under 40 minutes. Like I said, it could have been short, could have been a little bit longer. I thought that we spaced that out pretty good. So if you have made it this far, appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this clip on TikTok, if you are one of my high school kids watching this clip on TikTok or a high school football athlete of mine watching this on TikTok, I do just want to say one thing. I enjoy talking sports. I take a lot of pride in my sports knowledge. I think that I can debate with anybody on a lot of different things, and I take a lot of pride in trying to continue a hobby that I've always felt really passionate about. Like I've been doing podcasts for a good number of years on and off with friends, and doing this by myself has been a very weird experience. And I think that by the time that we've got to this one, the energy, a lot of things feel different than the first one. And so, high school kids that are seeing this on TikTok, like I appreciate it. I think I see your comments. I think it's funny. I get what you guys are doing. It's all in good laughs a lot of times. I don't want to talk about TikTok at work. I don't talk about TikTok at football. I put these on TikTok so that it goes out there that I am talking sports, and I hope people go click the podcast, because I don't want TikTok to be what it's what my name is associated with. I want my podcast, the time that's spent talking sports for 40 minutes, I want that to mean something. Okay. But you watching this on TikTok, you seeing it, it's cool. It's fun. It's great. Being silly is cool. Being silly is funny. I can laugh at a joke. I can think your jokes are silly, and that's okay too. There's also a place of knowing right and wrong, of what to say and what not to say to an adult, to a teacher, to somebody that is just trying to do a hobby. And just keep that in mind as you guys see these, as you post things, as you comment, as you share, as you ignore. It doesn't matter. We're all human. Okay, just keep that in mind as you guys are seeing all my stuff and being a part of it. And if it's in a good place to support and help it grow, just so that people listen to my voice of me talking sports, then I appreciate it and thank you. For the rest of you, okay, that aren't high school kids, sorry if you had to just listen to all that. There's been some comments on the TikToks, and if you are really interested, you could go look and you'll laugh at a few of them. If not, if you are one of the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people that have made it this far, I do appreciate it. I really do think that there's been some good growth and some good movement with this, and I just hope that you guys continue to give it a chance. I really think after football season of my own is over, then things can become a little bit more consistent and fluid, and I really look forward to making that the best thing I can. So thank you so much. Remember to share this with somebody that loves sports. Remember, as we try to grow the standard, unlike Mike Tomlin now, the standard is not to be mediocre. The standard is to continue to grow, to continue to get better. The standard is the standard, but that's not the only motto we live by anymore. Remember, if you're going to piss like a puppy, stay on the porch. Let the big dogs eat.
Because if you go piss like a puppy, stay on the porch and let the big dogs eat.